Hello, welcome to the next episode of Just Peachie. I'm Peachie Thompson, and I'm your host. Just Peachie is a show where we interview leaders and subject matter experts in the fields of insurance, finances, and taxes. We also have a lifestyle section where we talk about everything and anything under the sun. Today's speaker is University of North Florida's Director of Financial Planning Program, Mr. Ron Heymann. Ron, thank you so much for joining us today and welcome.
My pleasure to be here, Peachie. Thank you for the invitation.
Yes, Ron. So I have a lot of students that will be watching this show. And being the Director of Financial Planning of the Financial Planning Program at UNF, I want to pick your brain on a lot of stuff. So first and foremost, I did ask the students what I should be asking the director of the financial planning program, and they come up with several questions. So I'm just going to go through that. Tell our viewers, Ron, why did you become a financial planner? Because you are also a financial planner. You're a CFP and you practice. So why did you become one?
Absolutely. I've been in the financial services industry for over 15 years now and a certified financial planner for over a decade. And really what brought me to the career is the ability to help people. Right? I've always been an investor. I've always been involved in personal finances, generally my own, but I also have a strong desire to educate and to help people and to serve people. And the career of financial planning has allowed me to bridge both. It takes sometimes complicated or abstract financial concepts and bring it down to a level where people who are not financial advisors can benefit, from the relationship, from the conversations that we're having. So it's been a great career choice for me. It's actually a second career. I'm sure we'll probably talk about that in a little bit, but really it was the ability to marry two things that I like into one career that brought me to become a financial planner.
Makes sense. And yes, let's talk about your journey and how you became one.
Well, absolutely. I actually started investing in stocks at a very young age. I mean, from early on in my teen years, working for myself, I had a vested interest in the stock markets. I grew up a few miles west of New York City, so there was a large number of investment-related jobs in our town. A lot of my friends' parents were commuting to Wall Street on a daily basis, so I was exposed to it very young, and I saw the power of saving, of being tax efficient, like in IRA contributions, and really the power of compounding interest over time when you can invest and not spend that money, and then the money starts to make money for itself. Mm-hmm. So that was something that struck me from a very young age. Fast forwarding later on in my life, I was working in an industry where I was exposed to corporate finance, but I noticed that a lot of the people that were working for my organization didn't have the same kind of financial expertise in their own lives, and where it really mattered. In the service industry, I worked for Ritz-Carlton Hotels, Marriott International, and a lot of the employees weren't saving in their 401ks. They weren't being efficient from a saving for college to send a kid off to college standpoint. And I was always getting in trouble in that, at that job, being a financial advisor, giving advice to people who were working for me about long-range planning. So they were nice enough to send me back to the University of North Florida, where I got my MBA, took a bunch of finance courses, and then left and actually went into the financial services industry, starting with Fidelity. And now I have my own firm, or partner with a few other planners, where we run our own independent advisory practice, which has been immensely rewarding.
So when you were working, so you were giving advice to your coworkers. So that and that was early in your career. So would you say that at that point you had an idea of the direction of your career where you want to head? In this case, now you have your own practice.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, it's always been a focus of mine, and I think that being a financial planner and making smart decisions with limited resources, takes discipline, takes practice. It's something that you have to work on over the span of years, but the end result is financial security. And I think if anything, it's becoming more and more apparent that you have to have a plan long range, that you can't depend on some of the other, sources of safety. Social security, trust fund may or may not have money in it at some point. Medicare may or may not be funded by the time a lot of people get to really needing it. So that self-reliance is important and takes time. You don't just wake up with $500,000 in your retirement account. You have to make decisions at the very micro level. Do I buy that pumpkin spice latte today, or do I save it in my retirement plan? Right. So making those decisions and trying to educate people at the most basic level, it's kind of something I've always been interested in. It's what drove me to the University of North Florida to be an instructor, and then now actually running the financial planning program.
Yes, very true. And you definitely hit the nail on the head there. Sometimes it's the smaller. You start with the small. Do I go get that latte today, or do I just set it aside for later and have some compounding interest and what have you? So that's really a very good example of baby steps.
Absolutely.
So what would you say, Ron, as a financial planner, and then we'll talk about the UNF stuff in a little bit here. What would you say is the best part of being a financial planner and the worst part?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, the best part about being a financial planner is seeing clients, evolve over time and start to be financially successful. And sometimes they come in, they have all the right tools in the toolbox, they're just not using them correctly. Sometimes a client comes on board and they really need help budgeting, with cash flow management, whatever it may be, and seeing their sense of satisfaction and self-worth grow as they start to hit different milestones, and really being a coach along the way. In a lot of sense, it's just, hey, you're starting to show progress. There's really a lot of parallels between the profession of financial planning and a coach or any kind of personal trainer or something like that. It's just with finances, right? We're making smaller and smaller steps. We're doing things that are going to benefit you on the long term, and then seeing people hit those milestones. On the flip side of that, the hardest thing I think is it's been some things that have been driven home recently. Having long-term clients pass away. I had several clients of mine pass of natural causes in the last 2 or 3 years. Some were COVID related, some were not. But you really have such a sense of loss and grief because you've been with that individual or with that family for years and years and years. And in most cases, from a business standpoint, the business is secure. The family knows the advisor. They're not going to seek counsel somewhere else. But you have the same sense of grief and loss missing a client that you've worked with for 10 years or more. And it's hard because typically a lot of our clients are retirees, and there's a disproportionate number that are passing away from natural causes over time. And you just, every year you have somebody who passes or a few clients who pass, and it just hurts. But on the flip side, we're doing our job. We can help with that transfer of wealth intergenerationally, and the family doesn't have to worry about finances, liquidity needs. They have somebody helping them through probably one of the most difficult times of their life. So it is, kind of two sides of the equation, but it's hard.
Yes, I can appreciate that. In both our professions, your client really becomes part of you, whether you develop a friendly relationship or some of them become close to enough to you that they're like extended family. And the grief is real for advisors who manages their money and grow with them through the beginning, from the beginning all the way to the end. So yes, I can understand that, and it's not for the faint of heart. I think at least that's my opinion. If you get close to your clients at that level, that's a little hard to swallow.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's something that they definitely don't talk to you about, the human aspect of the job as a certified financial planner. And, it varies by firm. When I was working in the corporate world for Fidelity, I had hundreds of clients and there was all sorts of life events happening that it was impossible for me to track all of them, whether it was births, deaths, weddings, divorces, things like that. Just the size of the business relationship was so great that it was, it's more or less impossible. But on the smaller firm as an independent advisor, it's a much smaller relationship. It's a much smaller book of business. The relationships are much tighter. I've been to weddings and funerals and christenings of babies and things like that. And it is an extended family, which is awesome. That's why I do it.
Yes. So that's a great segue to the next question, Duran. Let's talk about the financial planning program that you head up at UNF.
Happy to do it.
So anyone, a freshman coming into school or a career changer who might be thinking about financial planning. So what does the program entail? What can you tell us about this?
Yeah, excellent question. So really two different demographics to talk about as an underclassman coming up, a freshman arriving on campus. I don't think that there is a real clear message being communicated sometimes at what the different options are in the business school, in the Cognitive College of Business. Students have an idea they want to be in finance or accounting or business or whatever it may be. So I've been actively working to get in front of freshman and sophomore students early on to tell them about the career of financial planning before they declare a major. Now, if you're 100% math oriented, finance might be it for you, or accounting might be it. But I'm trying to get the students that have much different relationship characteristics, the people that want to connect on the human level, right, and work with client behaviors, psychology majors, things like that, who also have to be good at math. They have to understand finance.
Yes.
But I think there's a whole pool of students out there who take a look at finance and say, it's not for me, but they don't realize that really financial planning and being a good advisor requires so much more softer skills and interpersonal communication and behavioral modification over time. And those are the ones I try to catch because they're the ones who turn out to be the best at what they do. So exposing the program to them, getting them involved. We have student clubs. We have a number of different financial planning related clubs on campus. I'm trying to get them involved early. And even, it's never too late. I've had a number of students switch majors later on from other disciplines to come after they've heard a presentation. They've heard, they've heard that there's this kind of hybrid career option out there that blends the best of everything: sales, finance, psychology, to an extent. So it's always good to pick up students who had no idea. For the career changers later on, you can always come back as postgraduate and just take the core CFP courses at the continuing education center at the Herbert Center. So if you have a degree, but you want to change later, you can't come back and get another degree if you want, or you can just take the board required coursework and sit for the exam if you don't want to go for the full 120 credit hours.
Yes. So I do have a question on that piece. So if you have a sophomore that all of a sudden just started hearing about, oh, there's actually that major. I didn't know that when I was entering the school a year and a half ago. Mm-hmm. What would you say is the best course of action for that person? What would that person do first?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing they would want to do would be get in touch with their faculty advisor. The student advising center is wonderful. I spent a lot of time on campus with the advisors, drumming up business for our program, saying this is what we have. If you have students who are interested, by all means. But what's nice about really the state university system is your core courses don't change that much. If you're a business student, you're going to be taking a lot of the same accounting, management, finance courses at the lower level before you declare your major. So there is the ability, if you are already a business student, to change tracks pretty easily and not really add a lot of time to your college journey if you do that, as a junior. Mm-hmm. But you can always pick up a dual major. I have a lot of students who major in 2 degrees or pick up a minor. I want them to all be, the BBA and financial planning majors with a minor somewhere else. Mm-hmm. But realistically, it's more important for the profession that the right people go out there. They sit for the CFP board exam, they pass the exam, and they go out to be a fiduciary wealth advisor. That's what's good for the public. That's what's good for the profession. And I don't care what your major is, as long as you take the coursework, pass the exam, it's a win-win.
Yes. Very good points. What would a graduate expect? What types of jobs are out there? There's so many different people calling themselves financial advisors nowadays. So as a student, they're confused. They don't know which way is up. Right. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, I'm a little bit partial to the certified financial planning designation.
Yes.
And there are others out there that are very noteworthy designations as well. But the job market right now is incredible, and I've been in the classroom and working with students for long enough to have seen the economic cycle go through its ups and downs. And there have been times where my top students, had just a marginal chance of getting an entry-level job at a phone site. And that was all we could muster up because the job market was tight.
Yeah.
Now 110% of my graduates are getting job offers on graduation from all of the financial services firms in Jacksonville. I mean, we can place every one of them. But what's been really fascinating is that the top of the top, the most engaged students, the ones who are excited to graduate, going to go on and take their CFP board exam, they're getting some amazing jobs. I mean, we've been now placing students at the national level in a lot of really noteworthy advisory development programs. Vanguard has an incredible advisory development program. We've placed a few students with them. We're starting to see notice from the high net worth groups of Morgan Stanley, of Merrill Lynch, not the traditional phone site jobs, but and this is an advisory development program. You're going to be client facing very soon, right after graduation. And that's awesome. It's great to get that recognition and to see students who are ready for that job right out of school. So, so there's opportunity out there. Some of it is an opportunity for even seasoned veterans who've been in the business for a long time. I look at some of the job offers and think, wow, that's incredible. It took me 10 years to get to this level where a college graduate is going to basically jump into the job. So it's an expanding field, and given the job market right now, it's even more and more demand. So
that's really super awesome to hear, Ron.
Yeah.
Talk to us about internships. What are your thoughts on internships for a career changer or a freshly grad?
Yeah. No, internships, I think, are really important. Um, I think they're critical now in differentiating yourself as a graduate
Mm-hmm.
in the job hunt. Right? When anybody can get a job, what's going to make you stand out as a candidate? Um, so having that opportunity in school as an undergraduate just advances you that much more quickly and puts you out that much further in front of your peers.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we don't have a credit qualified internship course. Like there are programs out there that allow college credit for internships, and that kind of sweetens the deal for students to get involved. But we do strongly encourage students to enter into any one of the internship programs that are out there. We have a number of partners in the community that offer internships, and almost without exception, the students return from those internships say that was a great experience. They may not have liked the company, they might have not liked the corporate culture, what the job was, but they learned the business, and then they also learned where they don't want to work in some cases.
Right.
More positively,
That's as
they get
important.
picked up by that organization as an employee. So it's opening up the door and helping them be better prepared and better educated. And one of the things that I hate to see is one of my graduates working somewhere outside of the field of finance. I run into somebody in the community. I'm like, what are you doing here? Well, I had a really bad time right out of college working for XYZ firm, and they're turned off of the industry. I'm like, we could have done better at finding that right home because there's so many options out there.
Right. It truly is. It's about matching the right person with the right culture and company for that matter, right? So what resources are available for students outside of the university? Are there any, if they were thinking, okay, what else can they do outside of the school?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's critical to know what's out there, to get involved with professional associations, to register with the CFP board as a candidate, and to get on distribution lists from NAFA, from NAPFA, from the FPA, just to be aware, right? Trends in the industry, who's looking for jobs, what different firms out there are hiring, what are the opportunities, and to just learn more about what you can get into. I mean, I think the opportunities are so great right now. Hopefully this continues for a while, but I don't want students to waste time, not with a dead end job, but a job that doesn't give them the trajectory of career growth that they might be able to achieve if they find the right place with the right information, if they're prepared for the job interview, if they've done their homework about the different firms, about the different career tracks that are out there, because they're just going to elevate themselves that much more quickly.
Yes. So on that vein, what would you give as an advice to a senior that's graduating in December? This was a very specific question, but I'm sure it applies to a lot.
Yeah, it does. I think the critical piece of advice I give to a senior graduating from my program is go take your CFP board exam now. Don't wait. The information that we provide them is perishable. Right? You start to forget things.
Yes.
Laws change, contribution limits change, the playing field changes, and before you know it, the information that we taught you as an undergraduate student is stale. You have to go back in and relearn things, or maybe old information stuck in your head. So go take the CFP exam, and preferably find a firm that is willing to invest in you and the employee, if they're willing to send you back for additional education, if they're willing to pay for a master's degree, if they're going to pay for your CFP or for other certifications, ChFC, CLU, whatever is out there. The quality of talent that we're turning out in our program is among the best in the country. I don't know if I mentioned we were ranked 5th in the nation by Wealth Management magazine a couple of years ago for our financial planning program. So our advisors or our planners are fantastic. We've got a good program. They're in demand. Go work for somebody who's going to invest in you long term, right? So I think you have to keep pushing the envelope. There's so many finance degrees out there that without some sort of additional credentialing, how do you separate yourself from the pack? And for me, it's the professional certifications, it's advanced degrees, so that you actually can differentiate yourself from the tens of thousands of other finance graduates that have come through other institutions.
Yes. And at the end of the day, you are going to educate your clients. So it is important that you do have a higher level of education and certification that is also known in the industry. And, CFP, I work with a lot of CFPs, and I am a believer of the designation because, as you know, Ron, there's a ton of letters that people can put right behind their names or right after their names. So what advice? So that's for a graduate. What about career changers? I have come across a lot of people who maybe at this point in their career, they may have been in a totally different industry. Some of them come out of the military, 10 years later, they're just hearing about this profession. What would you say to those people?
Go for it. Do it. I think this is a career that lends itself very strongly to career changers. So much of the discussions with clients are talking about shared experience, shared life experience. This is how I've seen these events transpire. And I think when you do have a little bit of age, a previous career experience, wherever else it may be, you can bring those experiences in to the conversation and be very effective. I have worked and taught and helped certify a number of ex-military folks who've gone on to become certified financial planners, and they have an awesome opportunity here in Jacksonville. It's obviously a huge military town. You speak the language, right? You have the common thread. So what a better place to set up a practice than in a community where people know and they already trust you because of that shared experience. So it's a tremendous opportunity. It is something that anyone who has an interest and the desire to sit through some pretty tough coursework and take a tough exam can get involved in. And it opens up a career in personal finance where you can go into a private practice for yourself. A lot of different avenues available for that second career. So it's, I think sometimes building the client relationship is a little bit easier when you've had those experiences. That's why I think it's more critical for the younger students who are just graduating to get out there and get those extra credentials and get the extra, the extra stuff on their wall behind them, so that they now can prove to people who may be 20, 30, 40 years older than them that I am a subject matter expert. Correct. They may not have the shared experience, but they've got the knowledge. But being able to have both is really an advantage in the business.
Makes perfect sense. And that's good to know for people who may be on the fence about pursuing a profession in financial planning. Ron, in your experience, was there ever a time, or is there ever a time that you think you'd tell someone, no, this is not a profession you'd like to get into?
I've had that conversation a few times. You have to be a people person. You have to be an educator when it comes down to it. I like to kind of poke fun at analysts and sometimes maybe tax professionals that are much better with a spreadsheet and a calculator.
Yes.
But really, I mean, you have to know those things to be part of the job as well. What's really interesting, to turn that question around a little bit, I've encouraged people that would not on the outside appear to be your cookie cutter kind of financial advisor or financial planner to get involved and to go into the profession because there's so much opportunity out there. And it doesn't matter, who you are, what your background is, what your education levels are. If you're interested, the opportunity is there. Go for it. Don't count yourself out because you don't see yourself in that role. And it's been fun. I've had some students who have come into the major. They've gone on to financial planning competitions, who are skateboarders and piercings and all this other stuff. And they're just, wow, this, I had no idea this is going to be successful. Like, well, we're going to have to work on a few things here, but don't count yourself out because you have a place in the profession. If you can help somebody out and you're genuine about what you're doing. So it's more about bringing people in than sitting down and saying, hey, I don't know if you're going to make the cut. The CFP board exam helps you make the cut, right? That's if you're not going to be hard, if you're not going to study hard enough to pass the exam, you're not going to be a CFP. Might still be a financial advisor.
Makes sense. I understand. So is there anything else, Ron, that you would like to tell our viewers and listeners? Some people would only be listening to this about just financial planning in general and the program at UNF. And I am, by the way, I'm honored to be a part of that, at some point here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the opportunities for making a difference in people's lives are real. They're genuine, right? When you bring in the financial expertise, when you bring in the financial planning background, when you bring in the shared life experience, say, this is what works. This is what I think you should be doing, or this is the plan going forward and helping people achieve those goals, whatever they are. Send a kid to college, retire, pay off student loan debt. You really can make a difference in somebody's financial life, but that also translates into their well-being, their mental health, their emotional well-being, better relationships when there's not a whole bunch of debt hanging out over the head, or when you have an estate plan where your loved ones are going to be taken care of should something unthinkable happen. So the profession is amazing. I wouldn't do anything else with my life. The program at UNF, like I said, we're nationally recognized. We're growing, small but very effective program at turning out great financial planners. The business school at UNF is one of the top-rated business schools in the Southeast. It's the best kept secret that anybody doesn't know about outside of Jacksonville. But what I'm trying to achieve with that program is to change that and to get on the radar at the national level. So we're trying to bring in professionals from outside. We're trying to bring in subject matter experts like you, like other people from the community in Jacksonville. I mean, Jacksonville is like Wall Street South. There's so many different financial services firms here, and there's so many people that do want to get involved and give back and lend a hand out to students to welcome them aboard. So I would encourage you, if you're interested, come find me at UNF and send an email, send some contact information, and I'll help bridge that gap, whether it's finding, the next advisor to take over your practice, whether it's finding an intern for you, or if you'd like to spend time in the front of the classroom talking to students about, your experience as advisors. There's plenty of lots of hands make easy work, and that's kind of the fun part of the job. There are a lot of people out there, professionals that want to give back and get involved. And it does make a difference in these students' lives. I mean, it's just so much fun seeing them latch on to the career and run with it. So
and take off. That really is at the end of the day, that is your reward for doing what you do. So if any of our viewers are interested in this program, I said they can find you, but would you be okay sharing your email maybe, or a website that they could?
Yeah, I mean, my UNF email is r.heymann, it's HEYMANN @unf.edu. Feel free to send me an email, reach out. I can be found on LinkedIn as well. I can find me through my practice. I keep the two worlds pretty well segregated. So if it's a UNF issue, reach out to me at UNF. But I'm happy to help people get connected.
Yes, and if you're on I know you're making it really separate, but the financial advisor side, and now we have viewers who or listeners who may be interested in now hearing, okay, let me talk to Ron as my financial advisor, not the UNF director of financial planning. So how do they get a hold of you in that?
Yeah, absolutely. So my firm is Davis Capital Management, and we are located on Hodges Boulevard, just off of JTB, literally right around the corner from UNF. And feel free to reach out to me there. It's Davis Capital Management is the firm. And again, we're a independent advisory shop specializing in financial planning. I'm happy to have those discussions as well.
Excellent. Ron, thank you so much. I know that you've helped a lot of people today perhaps make a decision that they've been thinking about. I appreciate the time you took to be with us today. I look forward to seeing you next time.
Absolutely, Peachie. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Have a great day.
You as well.
Information shared during the show are opinions of the speakers. They are not legal, financial, or tax advice specific to you. Consult your own specialist, attorney, accountant, financial planner, or insurance advisor for your specific situation.